Welcome to the Critic Cop Show on Creativity and You. I'm your host, Uche Teresa Ezuko. Today's guest comes to us from Massachusetts, USA. Jeff is the author of the Enimnori book series, Arrival, Discovery, Challenge, and Crisis. Jeff is an avid reader of science fiction and fantasy. Jeff, you are welcome to the show. Welcome.
Well, thank you, Teresa. It's a pleasure to be here.
Everything about creativity is you, a software engineer turned author of a four-part series, Enimnori. Wow. How has all this helped to guide you towards a deeper level in embracing your passion and goals?
I've been reading forever, pretty much since grade school,
Okay.
long time. And one of either my mother or my wife, I can't remember which, said, "You read all this weird stuff, you should write something. You have
Yeah.
a weird idea." So I started writing actually back in 1993.
Okay.
And then while I was still working full time, had a young family. So I was off and on for about 20 years. And finally, I retired.
Okay.
And one of my daughters has a BA in English
Okay.
and was working for a master's of library science. And she's an even more avid reader than I am,
Okay.
which I didn't think was possible. Um, so she was kind of taking a break from her master's, took the semester off. So she helped me with it. She edited what I had of what is now book one, book two. The first one very heavily, made a lot of suggestions on tone, narrative type stuff like that. Technical details I had no clue about.
Yeah.
And because she helped a lot. The first one was she helped very, very much with that one.
Okay.
Then I noticed that a lot of the things that I read, I'm a member of BookBub, among other things.
Yeah.
I noticed that authors would give away the first book cheap or free, and I would read it, and if I like it, I get hooked and buy all the others. So I thought, oh, smaller series are the way to go. So I looked at book one, which is about a little over 100,000 words, and I found a logical place to cut it in half. So it wasn't quite done yet. So I cut it in half, released book one, then the next year, book two, at which time my daughter had gotten her degree, got a job, and was too busy / burned out. So book three was pretty much all me. So I had some feedback from a couple of friends and my wife,
Okay.
but book three was mostly mine. That was released um, about a year ago.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm sorry, that was released last week, actually, book
Yeah.
three. And then I'm still working on book four. I'm about, I don't know, half, 2/3 of the way through it, going by word count, but it's hard to,
Yeah.
one and two, I knew what was going on. I'd kind of sketched out a plan. Book three, I had a kind of an idea. Book four, I'm kind of winging it more. And I don't have as much feedback, so it's taking a little longer. I'm kind of stalled at the moment.
Right.
Uh,
Well, it's amazing how, first of all, what caught my attention with your books is the name. So is there something tied to the name, like Enim Nori? Is it what's the trigger here? What's the inspiration? How come about that?
well, there's the main part is that I'm a little strange, and I was looking for names, people, and things. The town where Scott appears in this new world or city is
Okay.
very heavily into iron and steel production, and Enimnori is iron mine spelled backwards.
Okay. Okay. Now that is super inspirational. And now,
So,
and now going by the books as they show up, there is the arrival, there is a discovery, I think there is a challenge, and there is crisis. Was there also something that triggered those choice of words?
yes,
Okay.
the first book is the book is about Scott Hathaway, who was a electrical engineer, kind of a manager of I can't say Radio Shack, but something like that.
Yeah.
He is, and he has a family. He's also a martial artist, and he's in this world to be the Society for Creative Anachronism. But again, I couldn't say that because of copyright, so he's called it something else. So he's into medieval type stuff, and he's a martial artist, and he's an engineer. He's on a delivery to a high voltage power station during a lightning storm. There's a lightning strike, and the building blows up, and he disappears. No trace of him is found. Meanwhile, on this other world, there's
Hmm.
this young magician who happens to be, he's on a caravan heading to some river for some special product. And I
Right.
don't actually call it caviar, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
Fish eggs. They are, that during a lightning storm, they're attacked by a very large carnivorous monster.
Okay.
And his like panic and, oh, what do I do? What do I do? Plus, magicians are not really looked highly upon in that society. So
Yeah.
they're not supposed to really show what they can do or anything. So he's
Yeah.
trying to think what he can do without revealing himself. And he said, maybe if I combine a summoning spell with weather control, I can make a lightning bolt hit the creature and kill it, or at least hurt it. So he mumble jumble makes up this new spell on the fly, and sure enough, lightning bolt hits the creature. He gets knocked out by a chunk of meat.
Yeah.
Then when he wakes up, the caravan people are talking about this. They found a stranger lying in the gutter nearby.
Okay.
So we can guess who that might be. So the book one is about his arrival on that world.
And the build up, from the arrival, and then there is a discovery, and then I think the fourth one is the crisis. So that seems to be maybe like the climax of the story. Or is there going to be a fifth book?
I'm sort of planning on more until I run out of ideas.
Oh,
There,
okay.
there is a there is a kind of a crisis that happens in four. Like in number two, they discover something that they didn't know before. It's like, wow, holy crap!
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
he has some challenges to face in number three, but
Yeah.
I sort of made up. Arrival was sort of obvious, and Discovery was sort of obvious. The
Hmm.
others I kind of made up. And there is a crisis in number four that
Yeah.
relates to what happens in number three. So
Yeah. Well,
it's,
I would think that the crisis would be the climax, but if you say you're gonna keep going until you run out of ideas, then I think we're in for something really huge coming from you.
I
Yeah,
hope so.
yeah.
Like I said, I'm if as long as I don't run out of ideas, I plan to keep going.
Well, I don't see you running out of ideas, so
I don't do well with like interludes and little in between moments.
yeah,
So that's all on number four.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh, wow, Jeff, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us today. Thank you. Your positive attitude and enthusiasm makes a difference in writing. It's evident in your work as an author. How has all these unique skills helped you as an individual?
I'm only enthusiastic about things I'm interested in, but it's helped me in the past as a software engineer. If I would get interested in a project,
Yeah.
I would get very hyper focused and I would basically walk around like a zombie for days while it was running around in my mind. My
Yeah.
coworkers would combat that. Oh yeah, you're in programming mode, right?
Hmm.
Uh, but generally, I'm pretty laid back. Just every once in a while. When I said I would write the book off and on for years. At one point, there was something was a battle for a castle,
Yeah.
and I got really involved, and I wrote like 30 pages in about a week.
Oh.
It really, that was my big high point. Because it was really into. I did a lot of research into it. Scott teaches them how to make. They don't know how to make gunpowder.
Okay.
Their society is roughly Middle Ages Europe, or
Yeah.
more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had. I also had some fun. He occasionally he tries to explain things to them.
Yeah.
You know, complex concepts in terms they understand.
Oh, okay.
That doesn't always work out, but I had a lot of fun with that, trying to phrase things
Yeah.
about stuff in terms that a medieval person would understand. So, and some of my people who've read it have said they really like the sciencey bits. So I
Yeah.
try to explain it in regular human terms. I had mentioned in the first chapter that his family got some takeout from KFC. He says, no, that's copyrighted. You can't say that. So, okay, fine. Yeah, but it's good because you have to be careful about stuff like that.
Exactly. Totally. Honestly. I agree with you 100%. I do. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us today. Thank you. Let's have a look at Jeff Weber's collections. We are still on the show Critical of Facet Production, and this is our call-out session on creativity and you. And today we do have a special guest. Jeff is our special guest today. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. And Jeff, you are still welcome to the show. Welcome. What are your next big steps? Where are all of these taking you to next?
I'm finishing up book 4. I need to come up with a big ending. So I think I know what it's going to be, but it's a little hard to explain. But it involves the knowledge of the gas law equation, PV equals nRT. So I won't go into details.
Okay.
But something happens by accident that causes a big explosion somewhere.
Yeah.
So I'm working on that.
Okay.
Again, I can't say too much without spoilers for the other books. But we'll say that eventually, at the end of book 2, turns out that Scott also has magical ability. But being on Earth, he didn't know it. So book 3 is largely about him learning how to use this, among other. In book 2, the discovery is they discovered that this planet that he's been on was actually the result of a galactic colonization experiment. And they discovered a small remnant civilization which still has high technology, except they basically have forgotten how to make everything, and their teaching system has gone to pot. So nobody knows if something breaks, it breaks.
Yeah.
Something goes bad, it goes bad. So he's able to actually help them out fix some of their stuff, so they get to say they like him quite a bit. But that's the discovery part of discovery, really, is they discover that they're part of an ancient civilization.
Yeah, okay. So let's pretend there is actually a book 5 right now. And I'm thinking, with the way the story has, with the way the story started and with the way it's heading right now, what do you think would be a trigger, like in the book 5? Like right now we are at crisis. What would be the next big word or idea for the book 5?
It might be something like negotiation or something along those lines. There's in book 4, they're starting to interface with the original galactic civilization a little bit.
Yeah.
And there's some nasty issues going on. Well, I don't want to say anything, but there's some issues going on there which will probably have to be dealt with, possibly out on another world. So Scott or some of his family, Scott or somebody, may have to actually travel out there and negotiate with people and talk to people. But it's going to be at least partially about that, I think.
Yeah, well, one thing I know about negotiation is when the main character goes to, negotiate with other people, maybe to talk about civilization or some kind of, there has to be some kind of conflict, and some people will agree, some won't agree, and a problem or an issue or something kind of comes up in the midst of the negotiation, and yeah, you know what, I see where your story is going from here.
Basically, one of the alien groups that they come in contact with is not very nice.
Exactly.
They're basically pirates.
There has to be a bad guy there, eh?
Yep.
Yeah. No, conflict is good in a story. I love it. Like that's the trigger for me. Like if I'm reading a book, I am actually looking out for the conflict, because that's the conflict. If it's a good conflict, then there is a chance I will read the book to the end. If it's a bad conflict and I can predict the end, then
Oh yeah, I know what you mean. I think.
Oh, yeah.
So we'll work on it.
Yeah,
But
we're
I don't
working
have
on it.
a for 5. I don't have a real good idea for book 5 yet.
Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us today. Thank you. We're still on the show Critical of Fast Production, and this is our call out session on creativity and you. And today we do have a special guest. Jeff is our special guest today. And for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. And Jeff, you're still welcome to the show. Welcome. I'm sure a lot of people out there are eager to know more about what you do. How can we reach out to you for collaborations or partnerships? We're all interested in getting to know you more.
I have an email at Gmail with enimnoribooks@gmail.com.
Okay.
My Facebook page is Enimnori Books, and facebook.com/enimnoribooks. I don't check the email very often, but I do check occasionally. And I have a Twitter. My Twitter ID is Jeff Weber 1122. I'm on LinkedIn and Jeff Weber 1122. Well, you knew that. That's where I met you.
That's right. I do. Yes. Awesome. That is really good. Okay. Alrighty, Jeff. Thank you so much for making our time to chat with me today. And I am definitely looking forward to book 5 and beyond, because for what I know about you, you're not going to run out of ideas. So I think we're really in for a long haul with your books. Yeah.
I'm going to keep trying.
Wonderful.
It was a pleasure meeting you. Thank you so much for having me on.
You're welcome. Thank you for coming to the show. Thank you.